Okay, so the first section in Chapter 9 talks about the difference between the short term and the long term. And they give you examples which are, they're valid, I guess. What are you going to have for dinner is a short term decision. But I would also suggest, right, that some, as I mentioned in the previous video, the kinds of tactical decisions that we discussed in managerial accounting are also short term decisions. Should I keep or drop a product line? Should I take that special order? Should I outsource an aspect of my business? And what makes them short-term decisions? I'm going to take you back to economic theory now, right? Because finance is really applied economics much more so than certain aspects of accounting. Economic theory tells us that in the long run, what defines the long run is that there are no fixed costs. All of those short-run decisions that we were looking at in managerial accounting included an integration of fixed costs in the decision-making. Well, in the long run, there are no fixed costs because in the long run, you can build new factories. You can change your capital structure. And so that is really the difference between the long run and the short run. It's not just the length of the effect or the costs, right? Or the degree of information gathering prior to the decision. I mean, that's the practical aspects of it, how much work you need to do to make the decision. But really, the difference between the long run and the short run is, in fact, the existence of fixed costs. There are fixed costs in the short run. There are no fixed costs in the long run. And so, this is a very, very important aspect of corporate finance. It's really cool. You can build really fun spreadsheets for it, let me tell you that. Usually, it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down. There's no middle ground. You've got a proposal, and you do your due diligence on all the different aspects of the cash flow associated with that proposal. And based on your what are called a hurdle rate or required rates of return, you either accept or reject the decision, the project. Okay, and the process of gathering the estimates for the various aspects of the cash flow is where all the work comes in. I've been around this stuff a lot in my career, and I can tell you that for major capital investment decisions, for things like new power plants or airplanes, I mean, it's months of work by a team of people involving, travel and discussions and thousands of dollars of costs just to get the estimates for what the cash flows are going to be for these kinds of projects. The other thing, so I want to take you through these three observations here. So as a go or no-go, the estimates need to be sound, and then the third aspect of it is it has a predetermined accept or reject criterion, which involves the hurdle rate or the cost of capital or the required rate of return, however you want to call that discount rate, right? So different entities will have different levels that they require. So if it's a venture capital firm, for instance, they require a very, very high rate of return because they're taking on a lot of risk. If it's a major industrial player, they all have internal rates of return that they require for new investments that are set as policy through the finance department. But really, this becomes the basis for major decisions on the part of companies. And on a personal level, if you can become comfortable with this aspect of decision making, it makes certain aspects of your own life decision making easier, because the process of laying things out between the tactical decision making that we talked about in managerial and this kind of long-term decision making, just understanding how decisions are made, it's a really valuable life skill, even when you're not talking about financial decisions. Okay, so there are a few different models, several different models that companies use for investment decisions. Payback period. So how long does it take me to get my money back? That's a lousy decision model because it doesn't look at the time value of money. And then you can modify that with a discounted payback period. Again, this is not sophisticated. We're not going to spend any time on. What we're interested in learning about in this unit is going to be the net present value model and the IRR model, and then there's some modifications to the IRR model that have come about because of some weaknesses in the straight IRR model that exist. So that was the first section. Again, I'm just going to do these videos one section at a time. We're going to skip section 2 and go straight to the NPV next, okay?